Hey, it's David Hooper, Build a Big Podcast. It is 1:33 after day 2 of Podcast Movement Philadelphia. And this is the live and uncensored from my cheap hotel desk in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Well, not really uncensored. I'm kind of censoring myself because I don't use any profanity on this podcast. And you know why? Because I've got class. So that part is censored. But this is the real deal. What's happening here, day 2, podcast movement. And I've just finished out some Tastykakes. Do you know Tastykakes? See, we can't get these in the South. I mean, there's some places. But it's kind of like a Little Debbie in the South. And I have just ingested, check out this nutrition information. It's a little bit scary. Total fat, 16 grams. Total saturated fat, 8 grams. 40% of my saturated fat. A lot of sugar. 125 milligrams of sodium, though. Anyway, let me tell you a story. When I was in the music business, this is the first time I've ever been to Philadelphia not being in the music industry. And a couple times ago, I was up here. I was working with a rapper, and we would come up here. And this dude was, like, loving Tastykakes. And I guess he had some kind of, like, a little import business. He would come up here with me, and he would take a carry-on full of Tastykakes because you could buy them in the airport. And they're just like, I don't know, like this one is peanut butter candy cakes, it was called, but it's, like a chocolate pie or I don't know, they got different varieties, just like Little Debbie would do, oatmeal cream pie, that kind of thing. And he would fill those carry-ons up, man, and take back cases and cases of Tastykakes, a little side hustle. But anyway, up here, this is the only Tastykake, one single serving that I've had, and it's all about podcasting, not music. I don't know if podcasters do that or not. So let me tell you what happened. I got in last night, 3-something? That's when I recorded this last episode. Slept in-ish, up fairly early, and I was at the conference center basically all day on the trade show floor. I went to a Google meeting or a presentation or something about Google Podcasts, got my question answered, are all good. I'm using Google Podcasts fine. Basically, Google finds your podcast, so you use the Google Podcast fine as well. And I went to the trade show, about 55 booths there. Just wanted to have conversations. I think that is the best part about an event like this, is meeting people, finding out what they're doing, because they're the guys that get on stage, like the professional gurus or whatever you want to call them, the guys from Google or the guys from these big companies. And then they're the guys that are working really hard to make a living. I mentioned yesterday, ran into a dude, he's got 4 million downloads a month. Now, how is he doing it? Well, he explained it to me. I'm not going to explain it to you because it's kind of a secret, but that's the kind of stuff that you can get, the kind of information you can get when you come to this. You find like a really great crowd of people who are willing to share secrets. You share what you're doing that's working. You share what you're doing that's not working. And that's basically where I am now. I'm testing a new service, which I will announce soon. I think you're going to be excited about it, and kind of like testing out here, giving people information about it. Saying, tell me, how can I make this better? Are you interested in it? It's a service to help you get more subscribers, and I'm more or less focusing on that and just making connections. But what I wanted to talk about today is one of those hardworking podcasters, and that is Dave Jackson. This evening, the School of Podcasting founder Dave Jackson was inducted into the Hall of Fame, and I'm going to tell you a Dave Jackson story. Back in 2005, I just finished running my own conference, very similar to Podcast Movement, but it was about music. It was a music business conference. It was about the same size, about 2,500 people or so. We took over an entire hotel during the daytime, and in the evenings, we would take over 22 clubs. We would showcase 400 artists, and it was about 5 days long. I don't know, maybe kind of like Podcast Movement, technically 4 days long. And I got exhausted. This is really hard to do, organize a conference. So what I decided to do, because I'd done it in college and I had done it post-college, was go back into radio and spread my message that way. Now, 2005, I knew Dave Jackson because he was a guitar player. He was playing music. He knew me. And he had just started a podcast called Musician Cyber Cooler. This is how long ago it was. And I'm was talking to him tonight, trying to figure out like the dates on it, because he was out there about the same time I got on the radio, and I don't know if I saw him. I think I'd had conversations with him about, this really should be a podcast. I'm not quite sure how that worked out. Like if I saw him and knew that it was possible, or if he was like, hey man, you might want to set this thing up. So I figured out, because of Dave, one way or the other, through a direct conversation or me just kind of copying him, that I needed to put my syndicated radio show on a podcast. So we did a podcast mix, put it up in what was called iTunes back then, Apple Podcasts now, and I've been podcasting ever since. Because of Dave Jackson, I'm here. I'm here at this cheap desk at Podcast Movement, eating Tastykakes. And the radio show now, it's still going on 13 years in. We are getting as many listeners via the podcast as we are broadcast radio. And just to give you an idea of like listeners via broadcast radio, about 20, somewhere between 20 and 30,000 each week. Just the broadcast, one station, and we're on multiple stations, so that just give you an idea of how many people are actually listening to this thing. Anyway, 6 inductees into the Hall of Fame tonight. Dave Jackson was the last, and this is a man who had, I think he's had impact on probably everybody was there. Everybody was there to see Dave Jackson. These other guys were like maybe more famous, like one of the dudes from Mystery Science Theater 3000 was there. It's stuff and the general public, I don't think they've heard of School of Podcasting or Dave Jackson or any of the other podcasts that he's done. But you look at that impact, and I had a guy that I was talking to at the after party, Cordell from Columbus, Ohio, and he was talking about success and what it means to be successful, and that's different things to different people. But one of the things that I think is the epitome of success is impact. And certainly something like Mystery Science Theater 3000, it's going to make a lot of people laugh. It's reached a ton of people. But if you think about something like Dave Jackson, a guy that is kind of like underground, like insiders know him. Again, everybody in the audience was there to see him, and we were super happy for him. Look at that ripple effect. I mean, he got me into it. He got Daniel J. Lewis and all these other guys into it. And then they go out and get other people into it. And here we are, Podcast Movement, 2,000-something people here. You are listening. You've got a podcast. I mean, this is the ripple effect. That's impact. And that's what we can do. And it doesn't have to be flashy. It's just a matter of showing up. It's just a matter of pressing record. It's just a matter of publishing what you do. And it's a matter of taking feedback. Some people are going to like your stuff. Some people are not going to like your stuff. I'm testing this thing, as I mentioned. I'm going around the trade show talking about it. Some people are open to talking about it. Some people think it's like a pitch, like I'm trying to sell something. Some people are not open to talking to you, or they're weird. Trade shows are weird like that. I mean, sometimes you got people that maybe they own the company and they're really into it because they're playing with their own money. And sometimes you got people that are just employees, and they are just going to sit there and text all day, and they don't care whether they're going to have a conversation with you or not, or have any interest in doing anything but just like collecting the check. And that's how it is with your podcast. Sometimes you're going to go pitch your podcast to somebody and you're really excited about the message and people are going to get it. And other times people are going to be like, stop bothering me. It's you're as annoying as an Amway rep who just signed up and is trying to build his downline. That's the nature of this. And that's one of the reasons that I love these podcasts, just because they are passionate about a message. And I thought it was a great night for Dave Jackson. And that's basically the highlight of my day, watching Dave get that Podcasters Hall of Fame award. Well-deserved. I mean, everybody up there was well-deserved. These guys have been vetted. They need to be there. And that's great. But for me, I look at impact when it comes to success. And when I look at the impact that Dave Jackson has had, if you're listening to me, it is because of Dave Jackson. Like, I might have figured this out eventually on my own, but that could have been through somebody that he impacted, or, you see what I mean? I mean, it might not have been direct, and I might have gotten to it eventually just because of, like, whatever, a higher power, or why ever we get to do anything that we get to. But the bottom line is that didn't happen. What happened was I knew a guy in the music business who got involved in podcasting, and because of him, I'm here. So hopefully you're going to feel that Build a Big Podcast, and I'm going to have that impact on you. I'm working for that. Like I said, I'm trying to do a new system and kind of keeping that on a little vague. But I'm going to talk about that in the next week or two. That's going to help you get more customers. It's something that I was working with what's it, customers? I mean subscribers. Something that I was doing in the music industry, and you're going to like this because this is the kind of thing like when Taylor Swift gets on stage and she can get a bunch of subscribers immediately. Just hint, hint, it involves a mobile phone. Yeah, it's here for podcasting, and I'm working on it, and I'm happy to present that to you. So that'll be coming up soon on Build a Big Podcast. Thanks for listening to me ramble, man. I had about 4 hours of sleep, and here we are, like 1:45 a.m. Philadelphia. I'll be back with another update, live and uncensored, but kind of censored because I got class, and I'm not going to cuss on here tomorrow. But no more Tastykakes, man. That was just like my one. But this is like a thing here, so look them up. Tastykake when you're in Philadelphia. It's like a legendary, and since I'm vegetarian, I can't be doing the Philly cheesesteaks that everybody else is doing. But, gotta get something in, right? Everybody's got their thing. Thank you for listening to Build a Big Podcast, and I will see you soon on the next episode.